Yeah, Melissa, would you drive a car that was entirely made out of Legos?
Oh, drive it from where to where?
Like, all right. So the Formula One race that happened this weekend in Miami, you told me just before we started, you have not gotten to watch any of it. Yet. I just finished watching it like
Mm,
an hour ago. Did not really get to it live exactly. I was like an hour behind.
okay.
Um, but at the start of it, as you saw on social media or whatnot, they did their little driver parade in cars that were made out of Legos. And
Very
I had
cool.
seen this like the day before, just thinking like, oh, this was like a nice like showpiece that they had out there. No, they were working cars that you could
Yep.
drive around, and they all, yeah, which was kind of wild. But yeah, would you drive a Lego car, or would you like if a car came to you where you had to build it
What a dream.
yourself, like an IKEA car, right?
Oh,
Where you had to build it yourself. Would you
oh,
drive that?
man. My dad, I'm sure, would love a build it himself motorcycle piece by piece.
Sure, right?
I'd love, when I am older, I would love to have a Lego like little scooter to scoot me around.
That'd be fun. Like like an
Yeah.
actual like scooter, or like a Vespa type of
Oh, I
thing.
was thinking old lady. I wasn't thinking European Roman holiday, but that'd be fun too.
Sure, yeah, yeah. I think it'd be fun. I don't know if I would trust myself to build it correctly, right?
That's but that's the part out of the 2 halves of this, that's the part you can and have done before.
Right, like it's one thing to build a piece of furniture and end up with an extra screw, and it's like, ooh, that
Yeah,
like sometimes they put an extra screw or
right.
two in the bag, but when there's one that you obviously know, like, oh, huh, uh-oh, like that's typically okay for the most part, because it's like it's not going anywhere. I'm not going to really
Uh-huh.
move it around all that much, right? But when it's a car and it has to function on the road, I don't know if I would trust myself building it to be like, I built this correctly.
I I trust you to build something more than to drive something.
Melissa, I played Mario Kart. All right, I know how to drive.
I definitely take it for a lap around. We used to have a great mall that was just a big circle. If the St. Louis Mills was still a mall, I'd
Hmm.
love to drive a Lego car around there. It had no floors. It had 1 floor. It was a single story mall, just one massive ring.
One big loop. That's funny. That's fun. Well, yeah, I hope you get to enjoy some of the race somehow, some way. I know you were at one point planning on trying to go to Buffalo
I could
Wild Wings. Um,
Okay, so I did not see the race on ESPN. Where did you watch it?
I have F1 TV.
Okay. See,
Yeah,
I don't know if I could count on bars to have that. And I
yeah,
tried to Google, do we have any F1 bars? Best sports bars that play
probably
F1?
not.
I couldn't find one. There might be one, but just not in a way I could Google my way towards. And the
Right.
only
I
person I
mean,
know who's into this is you. Although correction, my nephew's little half brother is also into F1. So
nice.
I got it was my nephew's birthday yesterday and like both sides of the family were there. So I did get to talk about Kimmy Antonelli with a boy Kimmy Antonelli's
Janelle's
age.
age. Yeah, there you
Yes,
go.
that was special.
I mean, yeah, you
He's
probably
not going
would
out to a
have just
sports bar.
had to call Buffalo Wild Wings, be like, hey, the F1 race in Miami is on today on like ESPN or ESPN2. Will
It
you guys be
wasn't
playing
though.
that?
It wasn't though.
Well, how do
It
you
was not
know?
on the I looked. I looked at the TV guide. It wasn't on the TV guide. So I don't know how it would have gotten up on the screen.
I'm fairly certain it was on one of the ESPNs.
It It was on, I checked. It was on, unless they changed it, since I checked on my parents' dish cable network last night.
Uh-huh.
And they were only playing a replay of the race at like 9 o'clock, 9 p.m. tonight.
Interesting.
Like
Let me
there was
see.
not a live simulcast of the race. I looked.
The race was on ABC.
ABC?
Yep.
Oh, well, that I definitely could have seen.
Yep.
I went and
the
got a
race was on
mani-pedi
ABC.
anyway.
Well, anyways. Welcome to the Whatnauts Captain's Log. Number 295. We're getting up there, getting close to 300. My name is Kyla Springer. I am joined by Melissa Wilkinson. Melissa, how are you?
I just really wish I could find a nail salon that also plays race cars.
Right.
Although I don't know how many people for whom that is attractive. It may be only me.
I don't know. Maybe that's your like $1 million idea. You start a business where girls can get manicures and pedicures and watch races and monster trucks and all sorts of stuff, right? It's good fun. Good fun.
Sportos need manicures too. That's true. I've
Indeed.
taken a bunch of classes this week. Kyle, how many times recently, postgraduate, have you taken a recreational class?
None that I had to like sign up for and pay for. I mean, the closest thing I could think of would be like trying to teach myself how to do some stuff with our podcast of like putting all of the transitions in and making it look smooth and stuff like that. How do I animate this thing? But that's all just like my own research, not a class.
So you don't leave, you don't go learn out in the world with other learners?
No, not at all. That
I
sounds
wouldn't.
like a lot of work.
No, it's fun. It's
I'm
fun.
sure.
Tomorrow I have a flower arranging class, and this past week I had 2 different culinary classes.
Cool.
I went to a kitchen, and a dozen of us made a variety of fish tacos.
That's awesome.
It was downright magical. I cannot understate how life affirming and uniting it was for a bunch of strangers to cook together and cook things that, like, some of it's very familiar. A fried cod, we all know that. But for most of us, it was the first time we'd ever had ceviche, much less make it ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
And when we all sit down after like 2.5 straight hours of cooking, and finally we get to eat everything we made, and we sit down for this like newfound family meal, just seeing everybody's face light up, eating a food that they weren't
That's
familiar with
awesome.
and they weren't sure they were going to like, but they really loved. Incredible.
So
I
good.
can't recommend it enough. Please try it.
Yeah, so Rachel and I have talked about it, but we haven't really like talked about it to actually do it. But we've thought about some kind of cooking class or like knife skills class.
That's what I would recommend. I feel like I should have taken a knife skills class before a full cooking class. I should not have volunteered to cut up a mango. A mango is advanced.
Right? Like we can look up a recipe, get the ingredients, and kind of fumble our way through it. And I feel like my partner and I do a good job of like we actually make some good food here. But yeah, like having knife skills, learning how to do that properly, how to chop something properly or faster, right? Just is so helpful. And I think is a way to level up your cooking skills just to be like, oh, that was easier than I am used to now that I know how to prepare it, right?
I also took a charcuterie board building class if you want something that's still culinary, but where you're not actually cooking.
Charcuterie is great.
That was a lot of fun. And everybody gets essentially the same ingredients. The instructor led us through the same steps, but you had freedom to change things up. Like she just hands you a big block of cheddar and she'll tell you different ways you can cut it, but how you cut it and how you arrange everything on your board is completely up to you. So at the end
Yeah,
of the class, all these strangers just going around to each other to see how different everybody's boards were.
that's cool.
It's a great way to get to know people. Very
That's
social
fun.
activity.
When we like shortly after we moved into the house a few months in, once we had gotten settled and stuff like that, we had a bunch of people over for like a game night, and for the food we were like, yeah, we're just making a big charcuterie board. We'll have cheeses and crackers and honey and nuts and grapes and all sorts of stuff, and it was fantastic.
Mm.
We even got gifted a housewarming present that was like a charcuterie board, that had like a drawer inside of
Oh,
it that has the like little knives and serving stuff, and
that's what
even
I
like
want. That's the dream.
little like stickers that, or not stickers, but like little signs that you can put like in
Yeah,
the cheeses and stuff like that. um
that's
so yeah,
handy.
it's fun. It's fun. Charcuterie is great. I love it. Good stuff. Good stuff indeed. Melissa, we are recording this on May the 4th,
Hmm.
Star Wars Day. All kinds of there's a new like Star Wars animated show that's out today. Andor is in the middle of its second season right now. To me and my nerdy self, this is almost like a national holiday, but
Hmm.
it's not really. But even still,
It,
it's
I
a big deal, like pop culture
yes,
wise.
yes. Everybody knows what to do on this day.
Yeah.
Nobody is confused about how to observe it.
Exactly. And so we kind of came up with something fun that we could do for this May the 4th, of making our own Star Wars movies, or our own Star Wars stories or what have you. And we talked a little bit last week off mic of like how we wanted to do it. And I said, I kind of want to play it a little loose. I kind of want us to have like, here's the basic plot. Here's the two actors that we want as our like, starring actors. Here's a couple other characters that might get thrown in there. Here's a planet. Here's a food that might show up in there. Um,
Huh.
Stuff like that. And that way we could just craft our own little Star Wars story and make a little world and stuff like that. So I say we take a quick break for housekeeping, and when we come back, we can jump right into that. Does that sound good to you? Are you
I
ready for some Star Wars stuff?
yes.
Awesome. Let's do that. We will be right back. Thank you so much for checking out this podcast. We hope you're enjoying it. If you didn't know, we make multiple different shows here at the Whatnauts, and a lot of hard work goes into making them, so we would love it if you check them all out. But none of this is possible without your support. Head over to patreon.com/thewhatnauts and you can get access to over 40 hours of exclusive content, including our Patreon first podcast, The Pilots Club, when you sign up at our $3 tier. Of course, there is a free version of the Pilots Club available, but episodes are exclusive to our Patreon for 2 years before they hit the free feeds. If you're interested in buying merch, we have shirts, hoodies, mugs, and more for sale over at thewhatnauts.com/store. Another great way to help us out is by subscribing and leaving a nice rating and review on your podcasting app of choice. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel for video versions of the show, trailer reactions, and live streams. And lastly, you can always find out more information about the shows we make on our website, thewhatnauts.com. All right, we are back. Once again, a big shout out to all of our Patreon supporters. We love you a
Thank
lot.
you.
Thank you. Over on the Pilots Club, we are just about to record our episode on The Mystery Files of Shelby Woo, a show that I don't think I knew about a Nickelodeon show from when we were kids. But Melissa, you brought this one to the table. I have no memory of this. It's wild. I feel like I should,
Your loss.
right?
Yes, we'll talk more in depth later, but I was kind of impressed with this show, but
Yeah.
also it hurt my eyes.
Sure, yeah. Over on the free version of the Pilots Club, we released our episode on Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. So if you are like me and just went to go see Thunderbolts, just finished watching Daredevil and want some more Marvel content, don't skip out on Moon Girl and Devil Dinosaur. It's a great cartoon. I love it a lot. Let's see, right here on the Captain's Log, last time was a bunch of catching up on pop culture news, but Melissa, you made the astute observation that we do our cinema corner, and that's only one corner. And you kind of can't do anything with just a single corner. So we had to have
It
4
literally
corners
can't
to our
exist.
podcast. Yeah, so we had a Star Wars corner, we had an F1 corner, we had our like pop culture lightning round corner, and a Marvel corner or something like that.
So it was just a normal episode, but more clearly and intentionally labeled.
Exactly, more structured. Yeah, so go check out all of that stuff. Over on the review show, we've had a month of comedies on the review show, and this past episode we did I Think You Should Leave. We covered all 3 seasons of that. It's available on Netflix if you want to go check out that show as well. Our first time doing like a sketch comedy show on the review show, so I think that was a lot of fun.
An interesting experiment.
It was, yeah. Over on the Reactor Core, we also have our spoiler cast for season 3 of Yellow Jackets, which was a lot of fun to talk about. Their finale happened like 2 weeks ago at this point, I think, ish. And I think in the near future here, we should have a spoiler cast up for Thunderbolts as well. Though that might be like next week-ish. We'll see. It should be happening fairly soon. But keep your eyes peeled for all of that. I don't need to hit the spoiler things. This is not the review show. So, Melissa, let's get back over to some Star Wars stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so I don't know how you prepared for this stuff. Like I said, I wanted to play this kind of loosely, just have fun, talk about Star Wars. So I have some notes on my phone listing out like the basic plot of a story that I think would be fun in Star Wars. I have some actors, right? Some other characters. I looked up some of the food from like the Disney Star Wars restaurants and be like, I would have seen
got a Ronto wrap
in the movie. I don't have that one, but I did see it. I have that and a cocktail to put in my movie. So yeah, I don't know. Star Wars stuff. How did you approach this here?
I have my concept. We had originally talked about not quite a draft, but going through it like name 2 actors, name 2 creatures, name 2 types of droids, name 2 planets, whatever. I made a real Melissa-ass story, and that it is a microscopic psychological horror where most of that doesn't apply. I made a bottle movie.
You can make it work. Let's put it in Star Wars. Let's start with your plot then. Tell me the plot of your movie.
You know what my favorite thing about Star Wars is?
A big, large room.
A big room.
Which,
it's true.
Melissa, you might want to check out season 2 of Andor. Especially those first 3 episodes. There's some big rooms, some extravagant rooms there, a big wedding happening on
Oh,
Coruscant.
oh my gosh. I've
Yeah.
never seen a Star Wars wedding. Just the
Hmm.
private little one that Anakin and Padme have, where
Oh
like
no, that's
they
minuscule compared to what
right.
this one
Well,
is.
minuscule by design. I don't think they even they only invite like R2D2 and
Right.
C3PO and maybe Jar Jar Binks,
They had a
which is putting
shotgun wedding in Star Wars Vegas, is what they did.
that's putting a lot of pressure on Jar Jar Binks to carry the entire party on his back. Like he'd try to do it anyway, but like he's looking around. Who does he dance with? How
Right? Yeah.
he can't dance with Padme all night.
Anakin sitting on the sideline. Jar Jar, come on! When is it my turn? Mom said it's my turn to dance with Padme.
So my plot is big, big, massive star cruiser, incomprehensibly large star cruiser. And typically these things get destroyed in a big
Mhm.
Star Wars battle. I couldn't name one that's really been left alive. I think they all blow up. But in my story, there is one that is intact. And I think maybe this is like, it's probably a first order ship just because they're the ones who build them like that.
Sure.
And the Resistance had an incredible victory there where like they snuck aboard the ship, they defeated everybody with hand-to-hand combat, the ship remained intact. And so for the first time, you can turn a ship into a museum the way how we in our real world. I started thinking about the war part of Star Wars, and I'm like, well, in our world, after we have a war, we have a museum about the war. So where are the museums in Star Wars, huh?
Okay.
So my story is about a massive star cruiser that is going to be turned into a museum.
Interesting. Okay. Okay. Does this end up being like a night in the museum situation, or is
Not
it
quite.
like such a large ship that someone gets lost and trapped inside?
It's that one.
Okay.
So
Good.
we have a young, he's like a professor. It's some nerdy guy, and he is responsible for the ship needs to be taken from wherever it was to wherever the museum's going to be. And it is this man's job to just ride the ship as it autopilots itself over there. And maybe for some technical reasons, they can't just do warp speed. I don't.
Mhm.
People are throwing around warp speed all the time in Star Wars. That's got to be a pretty big drain on your resources. This is like a public museum. They don't have that much money. So this guy has to take like the full 4 weeks or however much it is if you're not doing warp speed just to get the ship from one place to another.
Maybe the warp drive has been decommissioned, hence it's no
Right.
longer a wartime ship.
No museum is allowed to go that fast. So it is one man, a single human, and
Okay.
like one droid, maybe like a ship AI that doesn't have a body. And like that's all that is on the ship as they ride it from one spot to another, going through the ship, taking inventory of it, and sticking up little museum placards.
Gotcha. Okay.
So just one man walking alone. And this ship's so big, he can just like he has to make sure he has time to turn back around to go back to his quarters midday. Because if he goes in it too far, it'll be too late for him to turn back. It's like mammoth. Maybe he has a little scooter and he
Or
like
he has like
scoots
a
around.
backpack with a tent and like it can like hold enough stuff to
Oh,
like go out for
I
like
love that.
one day and explore, and
I
then has
love
to
that.
come back. Yeah.
This thing is so big, he is camping in it. That's what he's doing. And it is a story of isolation. He is
Okay.
alone. Sometimes he sees
I
this
like
other
it.
droid he's working with,
Yeah.
but he is alone, surrounded by this sort of living history and this ghostly sense of how much happened in that ship, like how much
Mm.
bloodshed, all of that. And maybe a suspicion. Sometimes he hears a noise. Sometimes he sees something out of place that he knows wasn't like that earlier. Is there somebody still aboard this ship?
Ooh, interesting. Okay, okay. Before you said that, in my mind, I was thinking, oh, is he also like piecing together some story of like notes left behind, and he found some officer that was like
Yeah.
writing to
Yeah.
his, or like, or some officer that at one point had been like writing to his wife back home, and so there's a bunch of like letters around the ship somehow of that, of like, oh,
Like
here's
this is a
another
video
account
game.
of, right, yeah, like, oh, here's a note from his superior officer, like reprimanding him for spending too much time in the video chat room with his wife, right? Here's a note from his
I
wife. Here's something he wrote to her but never got to send. Like,
mm,
uh,
yeah, I that can be part of it. I'm imagining this guy is a scholar and he studies war, but he has never been in war. And there's a sort of uncertainty, a sort of sense of embarrassment of, I study this, but if you threw me in the shit, I would not survive. I
right.
could not do what these people have done. The sort of, what right have I to just write a little placard about what happened in this room if I was never in this room?
Hmm.
But yeah, I think going through documenting everything, like I said, this is probably a first order ship because the villains are the ones who build the ships like this. I don't think the good guys in Star Wars have the unnecessarily huge rooms that I love.
I mean, technically, in Clone Wars era, yeah, the Republic was building those ships,
Okay.
and then
Okay.
that turned into the Empire, right? So
No, but maybe this is a villainous ship, but as he's
yeah,
going through the
that makes sense,
effects,
though.
he he gets to see these people in a different light, see them as humans, which I suppose would ultimately be his job as a museum docent. This is as a curator of the Starship Museum.
Okay,
I'm picturing like the Queen Mary docked out in Long Beach, California. They're going to do that to this ship.
okay.
People can come aboard and walk around and learn about this historic battle that happened here.
Now, are you picturing this movie being like, oh god, I was just about to say something like The Lighthouse, where it's like these, like those people in isolation, or do you have like some other touchstone of like,
Um,
this feels like Swiss Army Man, where he's like out in on this island just by himself, like trying
I
to come to terms with something.
I thought of The Shining in that this is not anybody who was trapped there. This is the guy who volunteered, took the job. Yes, I will pilot the spaceship from here to here for like weeks of isolation as part of this studious mission. Um, and The Shining is like that. The family
Mhm.
volunteers to take that caretaking job. And it's just about how the isolation gets to you. And in this guy's
Yeah,
case, not just the isolation, but the sort of deep fear and shame of being haunted by these, being among like the soldiers' barracks when he was never a soldier. Not
right.
that a person should be feeling that way, but I imagine this guy might. And then the stowaway, the horror aspect of it. The I think there's somebody here with me. And there's a droid. The droid is named D3W.3. They call her Dewey Decimal. She's
Nice,
like a
nice.
stern, cold librarian, and she's just wheeling around. Maybe she's like got a printer and she prints and sticks the placards around.
Sure. Yeah, yeah,
And
yeah.
sometimes the two of them cross paths, and he's not quite sure how to feel about her and not quite sure if he trusts her because she is, to cite another Stanley Kubrick movie, a bit of a HAL 9000.
Right. Yeah. Okay. Okay. Interesting. I like it. That's an interesting one. I don't know what I expected from you as a story, but I don't think it was that. That is interesting. So you have one main actor
Yeah.
I guess you could have a second actor with Joey if they have a speech
Yes.
function
Yes.
here.
Yes.
What actors did you have in mind?
I wanted somebody there for this to work. It's a psychological horror, but I need this guy to be like just enough of a buffoon. Like he falls off his scooter or something. There needs to be like a little bit of comedy to it, like
Hmm.
how a little bit of salt makes a sweet thing taste sweeter.
Sure, yeah.
Um, and I thought about who's like an unassuming guy, a guy who's got some comedy chops, but also a guy who is so good at looking scared. My main guy is Haley Joel Osment.
All right, there you go.
Adult, modern age, Haley Joel Osment.
Interesting. Interesting. Okay.
And then I started thinking about other 90s child actors, and so the
Hmm.
voice of my droid is Mara Wilson.
Oh, nice. Oh, yeah.
Yeah,
I think that'd be awesome. That's a great pick. I like that. I like that a lot. Um,
thank you.
so we mentioned like planets and food or stuff like that. Did you have anything like that in mind with your story?
No, because I did, like I said, I designed a bottle movie. I designed like one scared man and a bunch of empty corridors that are too big, which is
That's
what I
okay.
like.
I mean, maybe while he's on the ship, he finds the kitchen one day, and he finds a recipe for something and tries to make it himself, right?
Mm.
And
Uh,
that's where you get your bantha rap or what have you, right?
maybe he makes the what is it? The black calf drink, which is like a cold brew with like a sweet foam on top, and then they just
Mm-hmm.
cover it with Cocoa Puffs. Like they
Nice,
just put
yeah,
like a scoop of Cocoa Puffs on top of this cold brew drink when you go
that
to the theme
works.
park.
Yeah,
So I think he
yeah, yeah,
drinks
yeah.
that.
He would need to stay caffeinated to stay awake and do
Mm.
his job there. So that makes sense. That's
He
good.
is that, and he can
I
have the
like
blue
that.
popcorn.
Something to snack on as he's hiking down the ship and camping out in some
I
weird hangar.
I do love that idea of a space so big that you have to an indoors so big you have to treat it like an outdoors.
Right? Yeah. Interesting. Just how big is the ship? Is the ship bigger on the inside than it is on the outside?
I don't I
Maybe it's
don't
not
think
really
literally.
explicitly mentioned, but like one of those
Maybe
things of
there
just
is
like,
a
just
little
how
bit of
big is
like
that ship?
right, a little bit of mystery where he's like, I don't know if that's just my mind playing tricks on me. And of
Mm,
course there is, I think, a stowaway. And I imagine maybe the stowaway is somebody who is trying to sabotage his mission.
okay.
I don't know. Maybe it's like a
The
guy.
opposite of Indiana Jones. It does not belong in a museum.
Does not. Or maybe it's some coward. If we've got our main character feeling not quite like a coward, but just feeling this sort of strange discrepancy of how he has lived his life versus how the people he is studying have lived their lives. Maybe he encounters uh, a coward, somebody who, when this big final battle went
He
down
hid.
on the ship, hid. And like maybe hid so well that he didn't know if everything's over or not.
He could have accidentally been cryogenically frozen for some time or something like that, or put in the carbonite um, stuff, and somehow with the ship like being decommissioned for a time, right? It melted or something and released him eventually, right? Yeah,
Hmm.
I don't know. That'd be a thought. Interesting. Did you have an actor for that person or no?
Macaulay Culkin.
Macaulay Culkin. Okay,
I
yeah.
don't know. We like almost I almost have this thing about if we're telling the story about a museum, I looking at these child actors who have maybe stepped away from the limelight or continued to work in another avenue. Like I do indie movies, I write books, I do theater, I do this, I do
Sure,
that.
yeah.
Um, I thought that would be an interesting commentary on how even if you're not looking at something, it continues to exist and live in this world.
Yeah,
And what is its
that's
life?
fascinating. Yeah, I like that. I think that's an interesting take, interesting thing to look at.
And Macaulay Culkin can be an alien or something. He doesn't have to be himself.
Right?
Remember how
Yeah.
we talked about how he should play Beta Ray Bill?
Did we? What were we smoking?
Okay, here's the
Macaulay
story.
Culkin.
I'm
I
at my
don't remember
parents'
that.
house and we're watching Iron Man,
Sure.
Iron Man, the first one. And when Jeff Bridges yells about the box of scraps, he's the actor he's yelling at is the kid from the Christmas Story,
Right.
who's all grown up and now gets to be yelled at about a box of scraps.
Yeah.
And I told that to my mom. Like, did you know? That's the kid from A Christmas Story. And my mom says, wow, that's Macaulay Culkin? I'm like, no, the kid from A Christmas Story, not The Christmas Story, Home Alone. And years ago, I brought that question to you. I'm like, well, let's say Macaulay Culkin was in the Marvel Cinematic Universe. Who should he play? And I said he should play Warren Worthington, Angel. And you said Beta Ray Bill.
What the fuck was I thinking?
You're not wrong. You're not wrong. And honestly, that had Beta Ray Bill better show up in Secret Wars. I think that's the
hope he
secret trick
does.
up there. That's the secret trick they've got up their sleeve because nobody's mentioned Beta Ray Bill in years. He is not the fan since Love and Thunder came out. The fan conversation about when are we going to see Beta Ray Bill has died off.
Yeah.
So pull the surprise on us then.
Yeah.
We would love, the audience would cheer to see a weird horseman in Battle World.
Oh, good old Macaulay Culkin, aka Beta Ray Bill.
Right, he just looks like Beta Ray
Bill. Sometimes we have good takes, sometimes maybe not. So let's see. Here's my plot for a Star Wars. So I'm gonna tell you my kind of elevator pitch, the like touchstones of like it's this and this, but in Star Wars. Mine is gonna be a mix of Casino Royale and Ocean's 11 in Star Wars.
Oh, is it at that fancy casino planet from The Last Jedi?
I wanted to showcase planets like that.
Yeah.
Not necessarily being on that one, but like show a little bit more of like high society. What do they do for these kind of entertainment sites or planets or ships or who knows what? But
Can we go back to the weird bubble opera that Palpatine takes Anakin to?
Right, yeah.
I would love a Star Wars movie that's all those things that happen on the fringes. It's Black Swan, but it's all about performers in the bubble opera.
Yeah. There's all sorts of great stuff you could do if it was like The West Wing, but Star Wars. It's about Sheev's rise to power as he becomes Emperor Palpatine.
Anything but a Star Wars. The Bear, but it's Star Wars.
Right? Yeah. It'd be
Abbott
great.
Elementary, but it's Star Wars.
So I was having trouble narrowing down what exactly I wanted my plot to be. I didn't know. So here's what I wrote down was a Republic spy goes undercover at a high-stakes sabacc game for a chance to assassinate an elusive separatist spy.
Cool.
But I didn't know if I wanted the Republic spy to be after another spy or there was a politician that like they wanted to assassinate or something like that. But my mind immediately went to like they need to manufacture this high stakes sabacc game to get whoever it is.
I like that idea.
Yeah. So it's
It's
not
fun to
like
see
go
it's
ahead.
fun to see James Bond go to the high stakes poker game, but
Right.
I would love the origin story of the high stakes poker game. How did that get started? Has it always been a criminal thing, or did one criminal just start to play and they're like, well, now he's ruined everything. Now other criminals are going to be here too.
But there's some movie I'm thinking of in my head, and I don't remember what it is. It was maybe around the same time period as like Smoking Aces. You remember that Mayovi?
I
It
think
might
so.
even be that one because I think there was something where they were putting on some kind of poker game or something to invite someone out to do some heist or something like that.
Uh,
Um,
I've not
I don't
thought
know.
of the movie Smokin'
Smoking
Aces.
Aces. Yeah.
I've never seen it. When I pictured it, I
I've
realized I
watched
was
it
picturing
once.
the movie poster for 21. This
Okay.
is who is in Smokin' Aces.
All I
Ryan
remember is
Reynolds,
Common.
Ray Liotta, Jeremy Piven, Ben Affleck, Chris Pine, Andy Garcia, um, Jason Bateman, Alicia Keys.
Mm-hmm.
What is this movie? When a Las Vegas performer turned snitch. Why? Does snitching take up all of your time and you don't have time to perform anymore? How time consuming is snitching? Do
No,
you snitch 40 hours a week?
he just told on someone, so now they have to go kill him or something.
A Las Vegas performer turned snitch named Buddy Israel decides to turn state's evidence and testify against the mob. It seems that a whole lot of people would like to make sure he's no longer breathing. Okay, come on. When do they play poker?
It's something like that. It might not be that movie I'm thinking of, but it's
More
adj-
poker.
adjacent, right? Because I would like to see like I don't want them to go to a tournament that is already existing. I want them to like we need to manufacture this tournament and invite these high like it's an exclusive thing like a high stakes sabacc game. And
I
I think
love
that would
that
be
idea.
really interesting because you could get the like the big grandiose hotel or cruiser that they're in, right, and that just has some awesome set pieces, the spy action behind the scenes in a hallway, the tension that is the actual card game that they're playing. I think all of that stuff would be a lot of fun. The planet I thought this could take place on would be Serrano, which is a planet located in the Outer Rim. It is covered in lush forest and mountains and plains. It sided with the Separatists in the Clone Wars and was the home of Count Dooku. If I'm
Oh,
not mistaken, I
cool.
believe it was their capital city. So, like, heart of the Separatist territory, Republic spy has to go undercover for a high stakes poker game. So
So
yeah, I thought that'd be fun.
I have to confess, I have never gotten a good hand on the various politics of Star Wars, which might be why my movie is just about a guy. One
A man alone,
right.
a single star fights. Doesn't really fight a thing. It's a star. It's not a Star War. It's a star.
Star camping trip.
Right? Yeah.
Museum nerd goes on camping trip. Feel the thrill.
Yeah. Well,
Not
I mean,
since Solaris.
well, I mean, you've seen the old Star Wars prequels, so I know you have like a vague knowledge at
I've heard
least
these
of like
I've heard these words. That's the thing about Star Wars is I know all the words, but I can't like really tell you what they mean. I can nod along, but if somebody said, "Okay, now explain what I just said," I got to turn tail and run.
yeah.
I'm getting out of there.
Yeah, in the Clone Wars cartoons, the Separatists were often the bad guys. Um, so yeah. Um, but yeah, so takes place on Serrano. Here are the actors that I thought I would be fun in this. Colman Domingo as
Oh, the
as
best.
I think he could play either like a really high end politician. Maybe he's the target, or he could be another spy. I just think him in these like fancy outfits, just living it up, would be incredible
He
uh,
could
on a
bring his
Star
own
Wars ship.
wardrobe,
Right?
probably.
Yeah, right. Just walk on set and be Coleman Domingo.
He plays himself. First
Right?
actor
Yeah.
to play himself in a Star Wars.
Great. Um, though, as my main spy, the Republic spy, Jasmine Savoy Brown, who plays young
Oh,
Thaisa on Yellow Jackets, who's also
that's
in The
terrific.
Leftovers, and she's in a number
Yes.
of stuff. I think she'd be a real great, like, understated spy. I think
She
she
could
could do
be
some
so
awesome
good at
stuff.
that.
Yeah,
Yes. That's an
yeah.
excellent pull.
Um, and then Palm Clementif,
Yeah.
as I envisioned her as some kind of hotel staff, and I imagine that the people that are involved in this sabacc game, either they each have their own, or there are a handful of like hotel staff attendants for them to like guide them around, be a concierge of sorts, right?
Hmm.
If they need something, they can go put that order in, right? They are like the assistants, right? I
Hmm.
kind of imagined her as, yeah, this like house staff person that Jasmine Savoy Brown's character has kind of roped into helping her. Is there like Palm Clementif is like picking up on like, hey, you shouldn't be here in this room. You're asking for
Mm,
some weird stuff,
mm.
but in the same way that in M. Night Shyamalan's Trap, where he like recruits the guy who works at the concession stand to like get
Yes.
him back
Yes.
behind, something like that, to add some kind of
Okay.
like comedic, not slapstick necessarily, but just like I don't know if you're what I don't know if I should be doing this kind of
Hmm.
thing, but all right. Right, you know,
Right. Maybe they
you're rich
have
and
like
famous.
a thing in common. Like
Mm,
they're from the same planet. They were in the same space sorority.
something
There's
like
like
that, yeah.
a thing. Yeah.
Yeah. I think that would be fun. I would love to see some other character, I have written down three other species that I would like to see. A Pantoran. They're humanoid. They have blue skin. Um, I would love to see them be some kind of like other spy, some other Republic spy that's only there in like a support capacity, like is not a
Hmm.
part of the game, but maybe they've embedded themselves in the hotel staff somehow.
Hmm.
Something like that, to just have some help every now and then, I think would be neat.
Right. They're
Um,
the lounge singer who's brought in for
sure,
entertainment.
something like
They're
that.
play
Yeah.
they're part of the little string quartet.
Yeah, it's my turn to sing at the party. Togruta, which is the same species that Ahsoka is. I
Oh.
think it'd be fun to see like the man in the chair kind of thing, the one that's in like is not in the field, but is the like nerd behind the computer.
You put your hand up to your ear like you're on a little earpiece. I
Yeah,
want to see an earpiece fitted to an alien that does not have traditional ears.
sure. They have something. And
Yeah.
you know they have those little comms things in Star Wars that just look like a little chapstick thing that they have that. That's in Star Wars. Um, And then we have to see, especially if it's taking place in that like Clone Wars era, we need to see a Nemoidian. These are the ones who, at like the very start of Phantom Menace, are brokering the trade and
Spies,
negotiations
yeah.
to like the like fish-looking people. Yeah. And since they have to do a lot with the trade routes and stuff like that, if he's just some like big boisterous, like got rich off some like I own this section of the space highway, right, and I have a toll that you have to pay or something to use that, or right, or like is some oil baron kind of thing, right? I think something like that would be fun. So with the Republic spy kind of having to blend into this like high life, high stakes, high society kind of life, they have to have, you know, fancy outfits. They have to act like, oh yes, back on my planet, hoity-toity, whatnot. But I feel like there should be something they miss or just can't resist that is kind of a tell. And I think they just want some good fried and Dorian tip yip.
Yeah.
Right? Which, according to the Disney blog, is crispy chicken served with roasted vegetable potato mash and an herb gravy. She just wants some fried chicken. Right, just something, just some good comfort food, not something that like fancy people really eat. Right. So I think some food like that would be fun. I saw a cocktail called the Bespin Fizz that I think someone should get. It is rum, yuzu puree, pomegranate juice, white cranberry juice, and cloud swirl. I'm assuming that's you know their name for like just putting an egg white in and shaking it all up so it foams up on top.
Did you read about a cocktail called the Fuzzy Tauntaun?
I did. Yes, the one that like makes your lips tingly. Yeah.
That could be fun if that's like a high-end delicacy and our spy has this and doesn't know that's what it does. She has to just talk her way through having numb mouth.
Right, yeah. Black. That'd be fun. Yeah, so that's kind of what I was thinking with that. Like, show me more of the high society stuff that's happening there. I want like a pod race that's happening in the background of all of this here, like a Formula One Monaco style pod race thing that's happening, or it'd just be neat to see some kind of big grand hotel or some big giant like pleasure cruiser, some pleasure yacht or something like that.
We crave place. Give us a big place.
Yeah, it's good. It's fun. I'm sure there would be someone in there that would be force sensitive, but I want no Jedis. So it's like someone who's like they figured it out on their own, so they could they have to like really struggle just to make something like float through the air, right? Yes, Melissa from Whatnauts.com.
You don't have to say that every time I raise my hand, but thank you. Can somebody force so much? Does the force, heavy use of the force, leave any kind of like
residue?
Something in the air? Right. Does it leave any sort of residue that a non-force user could pick up? Like if there was a massive Jedi battle and then some normal person walked into the room with like the hair on their neck stand up. Like, is there some right? Is like there's something off about the space. Can you tell it happened there once?
I think you could make a distinction between force user and force sensitive.
Yeah.
Right. You could have someone who can like maybe get a vibe or a feeling, but is not like they don't have the training to like float things with their hands or make themselves jump like 3 stories high, right? They might just get a feeling. That could work,
I don't know.
right?
I like that idea. I just don't know if that's already something in Star Wars. If like the Force has been used with such force that if somebody walks into that space, they're like, even I can feel that there's like a weird vibration around
Mm,
here, and I never feel like this.
yeah, yeah. Um, there are definitely Star Wars shows different cultures interacting in the excuse me, interacting with the Force in different ways and coming up with different religions around it and stuff like that, right? There's the Night Sisters who
Mhm.
like it's depicted as more of like witchcraft and magic rather than like the
Uh-huh.
Jedi. Uh, yeah. There's also creatures that can like interact with it in different ways and stuff like that. Um,
Oh, so sometimes your loth cat just stares at something. You're like, I don't know, maybe
that
maybe
just
the
might be
Force is
loth
around.
cats, right?
Right.
That's right there. But like, so I'm reading some of the Star Wars High Republic books right now, and I'm actually in the middle of one where one of the recent threats to the Jedi are these creatures called the Nameless, and they are these creatures that basically eat the Force and are attracted to
Whoa.
beings who eat the or who like can use the Force and eat them. And the effect it has on the person is that like their mind and reality like immediately starts to warp, and they get scared and they see nightmares and stuff, and they get so scared and the like life force gets sucked out of them that they like petrify and then turn to dust is what happens. So there's stuff like that. There was in the Thrawn trilogy. There's these animals that over the course of some ancient war or something learned to repel the Force, because as more and more battles came to their planet, that's just how they evolved to push the Force away, and then eventually so many of them that it hid their planet because it was like, oh, there's just nothing
Mm.
here. So if a Jedi then comes into proximity of one of these animals, they can't use their powers. So there's just no force there for them to manipulate. So yeah, I mean, there would be plenty of room for something like that. Just be like, I get a feeling, like a fortune teller,
Mhm.
almost. Like maybe they can
Mm.
see visions of something that happened.
There is this theory surrounding real world hauntings. They call it stone tape theory, where what if places can record things that have happened there the way a tape can record music.
Sure.
And when you see a ghost, that's what it is. It's a recording, which is the sort of I know I'm not doing it justice, and I'm talking about it very abstractly, but that is something I
It
thought
makes
about when
sense.
I was making my story. Like, is this scholar experiencing what part of it is madness? What part of it is hauntings? Maybe
Yeah.
the at the end of the day, the villain of the whole piece is just infrasound.
It might make a really interesting thing in your story, because by the time the first order is there, most of the Jedi have already been wiped
Oh,
out,
that's true.
right?
That's
There's
true.
not as many Force users, so maybe this man grew up not knowing he was Force sensitive, and therefore has like not had any kind of training, and so here he is in this place that maybe had some, like you said, some big like Force event happen, and
Yes.
he's starting to pick up on that and is like, what the hell is happening here?
Almost as if he has a sixth sense where he can see dead people.
Almost the second person in the ship was dead the whole time, right?
We've accidentally made another Haley Joel Osment that sees ghosts, another Macaulay Culkin who thinks he's been left home alone.
Amazing. Love it. Macaulay Culkin was dead the whole time. That's incredible.
Oh,
I love that.
I do like that spin on it. Like, you think there's somebody there with you. Not alive, there isn't.
Yeah,
That
no,
what you're
it's
mistaking for a
ghost.
stowaway is a haunting. Yeah. What if you saw a force ghost for the first time, but you never knew that person, so you don't know they're dead, and you think that's just a person that glows like that? How do I know that's not just what that guy does?
You're just a walking hologram? What is happening here?
Well, I haven't been everywhere, you know. Maybe
technology is wild. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, those are our Star Wars stories that we came up with here. I'd love to hear other people's ideas for like what you guys would like for a Star Wars story. I think that'd be fun. Whether it's a movie, TV show, let us know.
Yeah, you both did movies, but we could have done anything.
Right? Yeah. Like we said, the West Wing, but Star Wars set in the Galactic Senate, right? That'd be fun. Cool. Well, I kind of say we wrap things up right there.
My internet went out for a while, so I have no idea how long we've actually been recording.
My recording that has been going the whole time says 1 hour and 9 minutes. We probably have 5 to 10 minutes of that we can cut out. So for an hour, we've been going ish there. So, I say we wrap it up there. And I guess next week is just, or next episode is just kind of a regular one. I know in the future here, we're about to start thinking about like planning my trip out to St. Louis.
Yeah.
So I can go visit Melissa for episode 300.
Yes. You have that on the calendar only like a month before you're supposed to be here. You might need more time than that.
Maybe. We shall see. But yeah, we'll have some fun stuff coming up in the near future here on the show. Melissa, where can the people find you on the internet?
You can write me an email at yourhostmelissa@gmail.com. Tell me your favorite stories of psychological isolation. What's your favorite man alone story?
There you go. Good stuff. You guys can find me at Yo Kyle Springer. If you'd like to stay up to date, we are at thewhatnauts.com on Blue Sky. We're also on Threads, so please go like, share, and subscribe. You guys know the deal with that. If you're watching this on YouTube, go check out more of our videos over there on that side of the screen. That would help us out a ton. And yeah, this has been number 295 of the Whatnauts Captain's Log. We will see you next time. Goodbye.
Bye.
May the Force be with you.